I will say in your first year, an agent usually does like 3 to 5 transactions, and I did 19.
Okay.
So that's
First year.
in my first year as a full year as a realtor. And then aside from that, I mean, the burnout rate on realtors, I actually looked this up for this podcast. So over 80% of realtors in their first 2 years burn out.
Within how many?
And just give up.
Just give up after
give
2
up?
years.
Okay.
Yep, just completely give up.
3, 2, 1, and let's get into action. Welcome back to Surviving Startup.
Welcome back.
I am your host, Jamon.
And I am your host, Terry.
And
I am the
today-
detailing guy. My bad. Go ahead, bro.
No, that's my bad. I cut you off. You know what I mean? Like, the intro is going to get dialed in and it's going to be super spectacular. But
Let's go.
we still working on it right now. So the detail guy, I do video marketing, but that's not why we're here. Why we're here is to give entrepreneurs, solopreneurs value through our experiences and through the experiences of the guests that we bring on. So today we have a special guest for you. I was going to tell you to do the bio, but since I know the bio a little bit, so Rachel is an entrepreneur and she's been doing it for some years. I'll let her get into that. We're actually in a networking group together, and she was going to help me buy a house that I happened to see on a whim and just wanted it. And I moved kind of quick into it. So I can attest to the experience that she has. And you've been making some moves lately. I've been seeing you. So can you just finish up this bio for us? Because I'm doing a little bit too much.
Yeah.
So I'm getting long-winded right now.
So my name is Rachel Assiala. I'm a residential realtor and have been dabbling in commercial real estate as well. I'm currently in the process of getting my broker's license, which is something I've been...
Is that a clap it up factor?
Well, not yet until I actually have it.
Okay, we'll save that for the...
Yeah,
come back
I'm
on
gonna
that
get
episode.
back on that.
Yep, it's another 90-hour class and another test to pass. So more things just to grow myself as a person, because that's kind of what I do. But I've been a realtor for just over 4 years now. So I became a realtor March 23rd of 2020 and have been in the real estate business for just over 4 years. Started out on a team, branched off as an independent agent, and kind of brought me to where I'm at today.
Nice.
That's it. I'm gonna let you jump in with it.
So I have a
Cause you started with some good stuff. The
but before we hop
pregame
into that, I
show.
want to ask you a question. You've been a realtor for how many years?
4.
4. Is that like? Is there a thing where realtors keep how many houses they sold under their belt?
Yeah. So in
Yes and no.
What do you
no.
what
So
do
in
you
the
mean?
first
Like
year,
meaning as a realtor, like I
Yeah.
know how many houses I sold. I hit 100
Oh,
this year.
yeah.
I feel like I would.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of us do keep some sort of track of numbers and everything. 5 transactions, and I did 19.
Okay.
So that's
First year.
First
in my
year.
first year as
Okay.
a full year as a realtor. And then aside from that, I mean, the burnout rate on realtors, I actually looked this up for this podcast. So over 80% of realtors in their first 2 years burn out.
Within how many?
And just give up after
Just give
that.
up
Just
after
give
2
up?
years.
Okay.
Yep, just completely give up. So
Kind of like podcasting.
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
You just got to keep on
Yeah.
going for where you're at. But
Nice.
I'm up to, I think I'm at
That's what I was gonna ask.
75 transactions. Usually do
Nice.
20 to 25 a year. Some of them aren't really counting my commercial deals or commercial leases that I've been helping with as well. So those are, when you look at statistics and you look at my Zillow, it doesn't encompass all my off-market deals that I've done.
Yeah.
And
Or
so
help
there's
people with.
Yes,
or,
exactly. And
yeah.
so I do have like a handful of off-market that I haven't really
Nice.
kept in contact with as well.
Okay.
But yeah.
That's awesome. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
With that number.
Yep.
That's a good number.
Yeah.
I was you said 2. I was gonna be like, really? No, that's great. That's
So
awesome.
we diving in kind of fast right now. So this month is actually the month of Mother's Day.
Oh, yeah.
It is Mother's Day.
And that is why we have mother entrepreneurs on the show
Yeah.
this month.
Let's go.
And before we keep going into it though, my mother passed in 2014. So I just want to give a shout out to Sherry Davis
Rest in
and
peace,
also the mother of my children, of a lot of my children. She's here editing for us right now. Y'all can probably see her in the main angle on the close-up of Terry in the background. But shout out to her because she's amazing and beautiful and sexy. Yeah, I'm happy.
Shout out, Destiny. Shout out to that.
Does anybody want to give a shout out to their mothers?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, go for it.
Oh, my mom.
Are you a mother?
I am a mother.
There we go.
My mom, the grandma's out there. Actually, my mother-in-law, who's watching my daughter right now, so I can be here because I wouldn't be able to do it without my support system, in all honesty. And like my daycare, who's like my second mom, like the second mom to my daughter. My mom, who's been taking care of my grandma. You know, she's 96 and kind of about to exit the world kind of thing. So my mom's been going through a lot this year, so she definitely deserves a shout out.
Shout out to your mom.
Shout out to the moms out there.
Shout out to everybody's mom. Shout out to my mom, Miss Whitehead. Miss Whitehead, shout out to you. You know what you do. We don't even got to get into it. But
Hey, that's my second mom right there.
Shout out.
So now, without further ado, let's
go.
get into the podcast.
Wait. Hold on. I had my wife. She's a mother for the first
you tripping,
time.
bro? Oh.
You cut me off. But I normally don't do this because, I mean, my wife knows what it is. And, I don't have to explain to people. But shout out to her because she had her first baby. And she's a mother for the first time. She's been a stepmom for a long time.
Okay.
But an actual mother.
It is a new pull.
An actual mother.
Definitely.
So definitely shout out to her. And she's doing this mother thing. She's mothering the shit out these kids. Excuse my language.
Shout out, Kaylee. All right, let's go.
Okay.
All right, let's hop into it. So, let's start off with some mother stuff. I know it's a lot of mother entrepreneurs out there that's
Especially
doing their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to run into a lot of those. What is the hardest thing about being a mother and an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
You know what? Somebody asked me this question. I'm going to kind of sidetrack that, and then let's get right back there. Some people, when they look at realtors, they don't see entrepreneur.
Right.
What would you say to that? Like,
I can't believe on how many hats you have to wear at a time. So how can you not be an entrepreneur? Because I'm my own business owner. I have to pay taxes outside of this, outside of the commission that I'm given. I there's not tax at all. I also do staging. I also staging and interior design are two separate things. I have to be my own marketing team. I have to be my own social media manager. I have to be my own everything. So I can't see how it isn't self-encompassed. I'm not big enough to be hiring up that team of everything yet. So
yeah.
I mean, solopreneur for right now, a small business owner definitely. Entrepreneur is when I have enough money and we can start investing in whether flips or rentals or anything outside of that. So do I have like 5 businesses I'm running? No, not yet. But I feel like it's well on the cusp.
Yeah,
it's on the way.
It's a lot.
And then you add kids to that factor. So now let's tie that in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how do you balance that?
So it's really funny because there's a lot of other realtors that had a first job, had kids, and then decided to go into real estate. So their kids are like well grown or could sit nicely in their car while you're waiting. I got pregnant, had my baby, didn't really have maternity leave. I only had 1 full month of maternity leave before I was back at it.
Yeah.
And working, bringing my daughter to work. But I will say I wouldn't be able to, there's more people that are understanding of it because they can only see houses after 5 o'clock and daycare's closed at 5 o'clock. So they're more understanding going, yes, bring your kid. We understand. That's not a problem. But she's just on the cusp of 2 and is going to not really be as tolerant of it. But I mean, just as an example, I just recently had sellers that they're like, yeah, we can only meet at 5:30. I was like, well, my in-laws are gone and my husband is still in work and I'm going to have to bring my daughter. They're like, oh, that's great. Don't worry. She sat at their table and just was eating her McDonald's French fries. Of course, I'm getting Mother of the Year because I had to go through McDonald's Happy Meal for her. So that's probably like a little more mom guilt on like not being the mom to always cook the healthy meal and everything, and sometimes you just have to
the on the run stuff. Yeah.
To stop that guilt, let me just stop that real fast because that might be a thing, but also you're showing your daughter something most people don't show their kids.
Yeah,
most people throw a tablet in front of them. Your daughter's seeing you work.
Yeah.
Happily.
Yeah, that is a good example, and like I said, my clients are really great. But I would also say that it's also setting your boundaries right away. Like, my clients know that 7 o'clock is bath time and bedtime, and my phone's not going to get touched during that time. And unless it's something like the house is on fire or something that's going on, where my husband will step up to do bedtime and bath time, but that is my time with my daughter. That's kind of like our private time. So my clients know, hey, if I'm available, I will definitely be available. My phone does go on silent at 9 for sure. 7 o'clock is our bedtime, and then I'll probably check in if there's anything I missed. But I think there's a huge struggle with female realtors because there are so many of us now, because we became the person that really cared for where the families are landing, how they're buying a house.
That makes sense.
There's just more. It's the emotional side of the sale. It's not just like, yep, this is a house, this is what it's worth. It's like, no, you want your family to really love it and to be there, and you get equally as attached to these houses as these people do, just because, oh, this is a perfect one for you, and then you lose it or something like that, and you have to be a counselor a lot of the way, emotionally. And then you're also seeing, like, okay, your family is this right now, but what will it be? And trying to see what the house will be for them in the future to make sure it's a good one. So we have a little more pull there. So when something does go wrong, we're more pulled to be on the phone more with our situations, I think. And so there's a little more, there is this pull to help your clients, but pull to also come back to family and be there for them at all times. Make sure you're not
saying as a female, right? You speaking like as a female.
But what you said that I don't want to bypass for everybody to just peep in, boundaries.
That's exactly what I was about to hit
boundaries. You have to create boundaries in anything you do.
Yeah.
But was it always like that though?
No. I would.
What did the beginning look like?
So I would say the beginning was, you want to go see a house, let's drop everything and go see it. And there are still circumstances where that still is required, especially in this market right now, where houses are only on the market for like an hour if it doesn't have a deadline. And so, like your situation when you tried to buy a house, it was a for sale by owner, and you don't know what's going on with it. So yes, let's drop everything. I already had childcare provided. My husband was home. This is great. But when I started out with childless, it was a little more drop everything, or I was also, sometimes you have to pay for leads, and Zillow is one of those sources, and the person calls up saying, hey, I'm in front of the house right now, when can you show it, like, I need to see it now, and you're just like, sure, yeah, instead of like, well, we actually have to book an appointment, and 24-hour notice, and all that kind of thing, and so setting more of that guidelines instead of just drop everything for everybody, it one, makes you seem like more of the professional, and not as commission breath, not as like needed, like, I'm so desperate, I need this check, and that you bend over backwards for anybody. I want you to still know I'd bend over backwards, but it's within a professional standard. And after sitting down with like buyer presentations and really making yourself more formal, I would say, I will still do showings on weekends. It will be a Saturday from 10 until 4 and Sunday 10 until 2. Not to say that extenuating circumstances don't go around there, but I actually have to reel myself back into really sticking to those time frames too. That's one of my harder parts right now, is sometimes I say it and they're like, oh yeah, absolutely, can I see it at 9? And you're like, okay. And you're like, well, it's just an hour beforehand, and chances we'll be done with breakfast by then. So yeah, So I
just saying to everything. Yes to everything. So what I'm kind of hearing is, if you too thirsty as a beginner realtor, it gives you a look of unprofessionality, which in the end could probably hurt you. But it would seem like if you in the beginning stages of becoming a realtor, you want to try to hop on everything that you can hop on.
Yeah, the grind is real.
As quick as possible because of the grind. But how much does that affect you?
Well, it's part of the consumerism within real estate itself. They wanted everything yesterday. So if you didn't book it for them, then they're going to hurry up and they're just going to reschedule with somebody else. So it's basically the feast or famine in the very beginning, because you have no clients to prove that you've done it. But once you actually have more clients and proof, then you have more of a sphere of influence is actually referring you clientele.
Yeah.
So they can, you have social proof validation that you are a great realtor, that you deserve to have professionalism, that you deserve to have someone to kind of work around your schedule. I mean, in Grand Rapids, as statistics, 1 out of 12 offers is actually accepted in this market. My personal is 1 out of 4. And with that being said, then I'm worth it. I'm worth waiting for. You want a house, I'll make sure you get a house, that kind of thing. Like I work heavily with every budget. I'm here to try. I would say this is probably my biggest struggle was I didn't discriminate on first-time home buyers or second-time step-up buyers or only in this neighborhood or
You
only
didn't
here.
have a niche market.
No, exactly. So I took an hour radius around Grand Rapids. I'm going to Lansing. I'm going to Muskegon. I'm going down to Kalamazoo. I'm going up to Big Rapids. I'm going everywhere.
Talk about a startup grind.
Yeah, exactly. And so I would say that's kind of my harder part now is my heart is still into helping everybody and trying to take care of everybody, but my time frame is starting to narrow down on what my ability to drive to be able to take care of everybody is as well. So that's another trying to reinvent myself as well. And I think that's a thing that we always have to do as businesses is constantly be improving and reinventing ourselves.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That makes me feel like, though, and then I'll let you jump in, bro. Cause you was saying like it is that feast or famine when you first start up. But if you can look at it and look back at like when you were first starting, if it's somebody that's trying to start right now and you're in that stage of feast or famine, how do you balance that feast or famine with not looking desperate? So still having a touch of professionalism, but you know you don't have enough clients right now to just say, you got to call me tomorrow, or something. So how do you balance that? How would you have done it?
So how I started out was I had some of the best advice given to me was to make sure I had 6 months worth of savings to begin with. So you're not so desperate going, I need a paycheck next week or I'm going to miss my mortgage payment.
Okay.
And so I had my savings there before that. And then you have to realize it's going to take 6 months before you even get your first sale, your first lead, or your first anything.
So you might need 9 months.
You might. I did 9 months, but I would say if I didn't have the shutdown of my previous job, I would have probably had a whole year. I probably would have just kept on saving up, and I probably wouldn't have made the leap if I wasn't given the push. However, I will say that you still have that feast or famine, but you also you're not going to sway against your own ethical standards, and you're not going to just. I'm not going to be completely bent over by somebody and still have my standards. Like, I'm here to help you and help you quickly.
Yeah,
but I also want a little bit of buy-in that if I'm dropping everything right now, that you'll use me for the next house and that we look at. Like, if this isn't the house that you want to put an offer in on, please let me be your agent to continue to look at other houses.
So it's kind of like making sure that there is a clear understanding at the beginning of the home buyer agent relationship that it's not just let me just show you this house, but hey, I'm here for you. If you look at any house, let me be that person and not just going around like a hooker. Yeah, exactly.
That's
what it sounds
like.
Loyalty and buy-in, absolutely. And so I would say, like, if I'm meeting a person off of Zillow for the very first time, it's funny because there are other realtors out there, they'll say, are you pre-approved yet? Are you this? Are you that? Are you working with somebody? And they'll give them the nth degree before scheduling the showing. And I used to just go, great, let's go look at it. And then I would ask them, are you working with somebody? If you're not, can I continue to be your person? By the way, I'm not employed by Zillow. I'm an independent person. I'm part of the Zillow Premier agent support, but I'm not an employee of Zillow, so it's not to bounce around to the next person, to the next person.
Do you still use that method like you today?
If it's somebody that's brand new, that's coming in to say like an open house, I would let them know. I feel like so I came from Art Van Furniture, which is like an up system where you're walking through the door and you hardly know anybody, and they don't know how you're paid, and they don't understand that I'm not hourly and that I was paid by commission. So I think I try to explain more like, this is how I make my money. Come back and ask for me. So this is how I make my money, is by writing the offers and negotiating for you. And that kind of deal is to be on your side, and I want you to be educated along the way. Let's sit down and interview me if you want to move forward with me too.
That's awesome, because the way you just said it is bombarding. When we would look for a house, we was like, do we have what, the what, and what? But then we found someone who explained things differently, and we went with her, and we had her house built. So it was a definitely difference. That's why I asked that.
Absolutely. And so,
it was a definite difference.
I don't want to be the person to give the nth degree. And why would I want my credit checked if I didn't even know I liked the house beforehand?
Right.
And so maybe you're just trying to see, okay, this is what this price point is. Can I afford it? Do I even like the house? Do you even think of not renting anymore? And so I think there's a lot more to the backstory that other people don't put themselves in the shoes of the buyer, and putting the shoe of your clientele, like why are they buying, what's going on, and trying to help out with that. So instead of giving the nth degree, that's why I kind of give the sit down and then let's actually
Makes
go
sense.
over the buying process and what I normally talk with. And I think we skipped that buying process. I made you sit through it, but
Yeah, and no, it was because this is what happened, right? So I rolled past Buchanan in 28, and there was this duplex there, and just seeing how the market has been in Grand Rapids, I'm like, okay, I'll guarantee you that's going to be gone by the next day or tomorrow. So, and it's like on my way to work. So I'm seeing it when I'm on my way to work, when I'm getting off of work. And like a week went by, and I'm like, it doesn't look like a big company selling it, but it's still for sale. Like, how is this duplex still for sale? I want it.
I remember that.
So I called. So I hit up Rachel, and I'm like, I seen this duplex. I want it. And that, like, usually when people go for houses, like, you're in the process. But I understood, like, we've been looking for something where we can do house hacking and start to build up our investment portfolio. And that I looked at it and I saw it and I wanted it. So that's how the process kind of went quick, but it was still.
So after we signed the purchase agreement, I made him still sit down and go over what the
so we
process
skipped a lot of
is, where
steps.
everything is. Because usually I'll meet you, we'll look at one house. It's usually never the right first house, but at least it gives you an idea. And then we'll sit down and kind of talk about everything. I like to be able to refer to the lender that I think would be the best scenario for you, not just one lender, not just your bank that you're typically with. There are some people that have different programs that help with down payment assistance, all of the above. So I want to talk about everything and if it's even realistic for you. Like, do you have money in the bank? No, you're just living paycheck to paycheck. Okay, there you have a savings goal now. Like, I've had people that came to me that want to buy a house. We're going over the situation and they're like, okay, I'll see you in 6 years. And then they hit their savings goal and we bought by the next year. So, which is so cool because I'm just checking in, like, we're friends on Facebook. I want you to be successful. And I really believe and feel like that's part of the whole battle is I do believe that homeownership is a key to success. Without my first house, I wouldn't be able to pay off my student loans, my husband's student loans, all of his credit card debt, and be able to be in my next house where my daughter's going to go to school and graduate high school from and all that jazz.
Yeah, it's a science behind it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I want to go back a little bit because you gave out some statistics that was quite alarming, but I believe it because real estate isn't easy. Yeah. But you said out of how many people last 2 years and quit? So out of all new realtors that get into the industry, over 80% of them burn out in their first 2 years. In their first 2 years. I want to ask.
So that's just statistically, that's not even a number. I have a
two-part question. My first question is, what is the reasoning of that? What do you believe the reasoning of it that is? And how did you get past that?
People don't like cold calling. They don't. So a lot of them it's either they're starting out not on a team and they started out on their own and they don't realize that there is like teams available to help train you. So they're so solo. They just hung their license underneath a broker and it's sink or swim. Go have fun. There's a lot of people that see their friends all buying houses. They're like, oh, this is so great. Everybody's buying a house. No, they bought a house. Now it's going to be 3 to 5 years before they'll come and use you as a realtor. So where's your first sale actually going to come from? So whether they didn't save up enough to have marketing and advertising money for themselves, whether they thought just saying that I'm a realtor and everybody's going to use you now, well, you actually have to prove yourself at this point. Or you start, getting door knocking is one way. Open houses is another way to get your first client. Calling your sphere of influence and being like, hey, I know we haven't talked forever, but hey, this is my new venture. And just actually like putting it out there. There's a lot of secret agents. There's a lot of people that have their real estate license, so they're just too embarrassed to let people know that they have it, or too shy, or they expect people to have known without putting it out there. Yeah. And so I find like I do my video, like funny reels and videos and real estate related things all the time, and people are like, yeah, I see your video, but if I wasn't doing that, would they have been reminded that I was a realtor and still doing it? And so that's kind of the thing. Like, I'll say again, furniture sales, Art Van's always having a sale, but no one paid attention to what the sale was until they were starting to listen to it. So a lot of people don't want to think that they're repeating the same information over and over again, but really people aren't paying attention until they're ready to get into the market of it either.
That makes sense.
And so I would say there's a lot of people that are too scared of being too salesy.
It's a lot of
or
hustle
pushing. Yeah,
at first, and people not used to hustle.
exactly.
It's that grind
It's
where they
a
feel
hustle.
like. What does that grind actually look like,
It's a
though?
hustle.
As far as getting into real estate and what the grind looks like, I
in
mean,
that first couple years to be successful.
I've cleaned some cars for real estate people that live out of their cars. They say, "This is my life."
yes, you're driving everywhere, so you're gonna take wherever lead is giving you. So I mean, I've gone down to Battle Creek and out to Holland in one day, and then everywhere. I've gone out to Lansing and then up to Big Rapids.
All in one day.
All in one day. You're just driving to get to the showings and organize where you're going, and just figuring out for everybody else. Or I mean, it just depends. Like that's the funny part is this job is so flexible and so weird, where you're the master of your own time frame, so you need to make sure that you're setting your time of being in the office. I have my own office in my business or in my brokerage, because I actually show up and I actually call and I'm sitting down going, this is my social media plan for this week, and this is the goals of the
Sounds like an
projects.
entrepreneur to me.
Yeah.
You said solopreneur, but
Yeah.
that sounds like an entrepreneur
No,
to
definitely.
me.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing. Like if you're an
It's a grind.
entrepreneur, starting your own business, then you have to
be there.
responsible for your
You wake
time.
up at 12 o'clock when you're supposed to be there.
Like you
at
got to
8.
show up every day. But a lot of times when it's something that you building that you can, a lot of times it's just that, I don't know what you call it, but it's like,
I do what I
I'm an
want.
entrepreneur.
Yeah.
That, I don't know what you call, I'm an entrepreneur. Bro, like once you start seeing like this is a lot more,
It's a lot of work.
it's a lot of work. And the more that you learn, the more work that comes with it.
Yes.
The more you learn, the more work comes with
work.
it. And so I feel like you have people that's constantly learning more and trying to go farther. Then you have people have a certain level and they're just comfortable at
Which is
that
cool.
level.
Yeah.
Which is
Like
cool.
that's good if that's where
cool.
you want
That's
to
what you
be.
wanna
Yeah, I know a senior
But
realtor that basically says if I sell my 20, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
can be up in Baldwin in my cabin and be fine.
Yeah, they comfortable.
And if he sees this podcast, I'm gonna be real embarrassed.
It happens, but
Yeah.
don't take offense because he's
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah.
He might have a
Yeah.
wife that takes care of him or a husband
Yep.
that takes care
Whatever
of
it
him.
is, he's able to
Or,
live.
You know what I mean?
Like that's his life.
Everybody's levels are different, so we don't judge you,
Yeah.
but
I mean, what I'm hearing
It's
is
okay.
He's established enough that he's comfortable
Yeah,
with
he's
his 20.
comfortable.
It's
Yeah.
fine. But I feel like I wouldn't be. I mean, I'm still not comfortable with just 20.
Yeah.
I want to keep on going
Yeah.
and growing. And that's
That's entrepreneur
once I got
talking
to
in
that
you.
point of I did this and I can consistently do this year over year. Now where's the growth? Now I'm rebranding myself. I'm getting my broker's license. I am not to the point yet.
Don't keep going.
I
It's
know
not
I'm not
gonna
to the point
stop.
yet of
It's not gonna
hiring
stop.
somebody on as a team person yet, because I just hold myself to such a high standard. And
Yeah.
I feel like the next person, you really have to present yourself to that level before I start taking another person on.
Right.
Or have the willingness to do it. And I think that's another part, is having the willingness. I think there's a lot of people that are like, no, this is all I want to do. This is, and they're so blocked in their, how they would give their customer service that I give too much sometimes, like I said beforehand, and again, still coming back to set those boundaries. But I think the next level would be a social media manager and a VA to help with monitoring some things.
Entrepreneur talk.
Yep, exactly.
So if you was talking to a realtor right now who's in that 2-year mark, how would they get over that hump?
I would ask them where their pillars of business is coming from first. Like, are you doing as many open houses available? Are you reaching out to other agents that have new listings that don't have open houses on it right now to see if you can host an open house for them? Because I'm better on a one-on-one person-to-person. If you don't want to make a cold call, you need to find another way that you're going to do it.
Okay.
Do you have enough money to do marketing and advertising, boosting posts on social media? Are you hosting first-time home buyer? Are you getting
I hope you realtors are writing this down because it's coming.
Yeah,
it sounds great.
Yeah, all of these things. Are you hosting first-time home buyer seminars? Are you linked up with a lender that loves and trusts you to take care of their clients? Are you? I mean, that's been another lead source of mine, has been lender partnerships, and I grill them because I need to make sure that they're as serious as I am. Are you going to answer your phone call at 9:00 at night for a person that wants to put in an offer?
Nice.
I know it sounds bad, but
No, it sound like
That's your
what it
standards. Those are your
sounds
standards.
like is just, if we're going from the conversation that we just had before this one to this one, it was basically sounding like knowing your goals, where you want your life to look like. Because then you can establish how much work do I actually want to put in?
Yes.
How far do I want to go with this?
And learn different lanes,
and
because there's different ways of doing things.
And it's different ways.
Don't get stuck in this way.
One of the things that you said that kind of sounded essential, and it's now you're building on that, is the team that you're building. How essential is that, or was that, to the success of where you are now? Because that's basically kind of what was the breakdown. It's like, I'm building my team and I'm making sure, even though I'm going to this lender, because I know people who work in firms where it's lenders in-house. So if you have a different kind of situation, then I guess you got to kind of build that team based on
because
whatever your standards are.
Yeah, you have to have your set of, this is my inspectors, these are my lenders, these are my roof repair guys. You need to have somebody for the second that you, like, your inspection window.
How many people do you need for a good team as a realtor? Like, what are the different people that you need?
Yeah, so you need an inspector, a photographer for your listings for sure. You need to have your sign marketing and advertising people for you to have your own marketing signs out in corners. I have a social media person that I subcontract out to when I need her for other things. I have a transaction coordinator, but that's provided by my office, but I interviewed my office for that reason. My website and development team, that's based out of my office too, but those are things that I made sure when I was interviewing brokerages that those were the support to see where I would be able to get, host my stuff there. So website is going to be huge. You need to make sure that you're within a brokerage or an area where you have the ability to get open houses to see people one-on-one. Like I said, inspections, lenders, you're going to be interviewed by a million lenders anyways, so you might as well interview them back. There's a lot of lenders out there that say, this is what I can provide for your clients. It's like, okay, great. What are you going to provide for me? Are you going to do lender events with me? Are you going to do my client events? Are you going to host an open house with me so I don't have to share it with another realtor and share the leads that come through the door? Are you going to pay for marketing and advertising 50-50 with me? Are you going, there's just a lot of more give that should be given back for building a business together. I don't see it as just all me take. I see as we're building together. I'm here to give you some of my clients, as you're going to take care of me and my clients too.
It'll probably give you a certain look too. To interview them with them thinking that they're just interviewing you.
Because there's a lot of lenders out there that are only realtor referrals. They will take they do take good care of their clients, don't get me wrong, but there's another lender right there, and there's another lender right there that are also willing to host some events with me, that are willing to support some of the things that I'm doing, so that it's not just one-sided. And that's where I find there's a lot more naivety, I guess. There are other realtors that are just willing to work with them just because they're going to close the deal, instead of work with them because we're going to build a business together. You're going to help with my buyer presentation, and you're going to help give a class with me. Even if it was one person that showed up to the class, I want you to give it 100% your all.
That's awesome. I love that.
I love it.
I hope everybody writes.
She just gave the breakdown on how to interview a lender.
And not only that, like how to start and do this, because like you say, a lot of people get discouraged. Like if I can give you some tips on how to keep podcasting on, and we would have did that, but we learning this right now.
Nah, bro. We gave tips.
We learning this on podcast.
We gave the tips.
But like really, she just broke down a lot that you can write, that should have wrote down.
What you just said was critical, right? So we started the podcast up last year, went for a year, schedules conflicted. We've been shut down for like almost 5 months now, right? And coming back up, we still learning a lot.
Yeah.
But we've experienced a lot. Yeah. So don't take what you've learned for granted. Don't undervalue what you've learned. If you can be 2 steps, this is what I've learned from my business mentors, right? I'm trying to give it to them in a way that they understand it, right? This is what I learned though from one of my business mentors. All you need to be is 2 steps ahead of somebody else, right? Like that's all you need You don't have to be this super professional. And I think that's where not the identity crisis, the imposter syndrome comes along at. Especially when you're doing business and then things start rolling and then you like, man.
Those 2 steps, yep.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And she
Like,
just gave
it's
you
real.
like a lot of steps to help in front of the
undervalue
next
that.
person.
Like all you need
Because
to
there
do
is a lot of
couple steps.
realtors out right
Yeah.
now.
So that was one thing we were
I'm about to
previously
become a
talking-
realtor.
I
thought about it only because it sounded simple, like when with investments and whatnot, but that's not my lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I would say that that's another part is there's somebody that is the connoisseur of all and the master of none, and I want to like really dive into here and be the master of what my
you're
profession
doing.
is, and I think that's another difference is there's somebody just dabbling in everything to see what's going to take go off for them, but they didn't put the investment in the one thing. Obviously it's the
one.
grass is always greener on the other
Yeah.
side kind of mentality, but the other part is you guys are giving how to do it in multiple different businesses, but the people that are just here taking notes, but they're not implementing anything.
Yep.
And I think that's also the done is better than perfect
Ooh.
type of thing, where just get out and
been
do it, and then
listening to me.
perfect your pitch after the fact, but at least you pitched it.
At least you pitched it.
She been listening to me.
That's what they say. That's the thing. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I
Done
love
is better
that.
than perfect. I
I
guarantee
love
you.
everything about that.
I guarantee you. You know how long you'll be waiting, trying to get stuff perfect,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then that'll be your excuse why you never do it because it's not
Love that.
perfect.
Hey.
Well, I mean, even in the Instagram Reels, and I don't know if I've told you this one, but there's so many people that take the video, but they don't post it, and they just like, well, let's just do it again. And I just go and hit post because I don't listen. I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't want to listen to it again. And the other two is no one's looking at your double chin. You're the only one that's looking at your double chin. So just post it.
Let me tell y'all what I sound like to me when I
love
go over my podcast.
I love that.
When I go over the podcast, this is what I sound like to me. I hate my voice when I'm listening to it. I feel like I sound like this, and I'm like, why do I sound like? Drop it. Ain't nobody paying attention to all of that. And then as a videographer, right? I've mostly not been in front of the camera. A lot of videographers are not in front of the camera.
Right.
It switches the game up when you start to do a lot of stuff in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Because then you can see, like, you start to look like, man, I don't like my voice. Why did I move? Why did I do that like that? Yeah. But then you just have to, you got to just go.
Put it out there.
We were talking last night in the class. It was like a class, but not a class. It was a networking night. They gave some tips. It was Spring GR.
Okay.
And this is what I was kind of thinking of that night, right? So since Spring GR, since I graduated, I've been networking like crazy.
Right.
Like weekly. I'm networking, right? And I'm an introvert. I'm really an introvert. People probably, if I come in a room with a purpose,
You
like
used to be.
networking,
Yeah.
I'm still am, bro. Like if I go into a room, a party, like if you pay attention to me, if we go somewhere,
We paid attention last night.
I'll be
Kaylee brought it up.
What?
Just keep going.
All right, we'll come back to that. So anyways, like I'll just chill back. But if I come to network, I'll just jump in and I got things on my mind kind of that I want to say, but if I wait, I'll talk myself out of it. I'll talk myself out of, oh, that person looks interesting. Let me go talk to them and see what they do.
Yeah.
A lot of the times what I'll just do is I'll walk around the room and make eye contact with people and speak to people. And then somebody be like, hey, how are, and then it starts the conversation. Or I'll just come, hey, how are you? And have some like an intro line and just do it instead of trying to figure out the best way to do it. So done is better than perfect. Just jump in. I just made a short story long.
Just hop in.
But networking events, I would say, even as a realtor, are some of the most intimidating things because you think, oh, that service is already taken care of, or who doesn't already know a realtor? You knew like 4 of them before you knew me.
Exactly.
And so like everybody knew somebody, but are they gonna? You just have to have enough confidence within yourself to be like, but they don't know me yet, and they need to know me because I'm better than X, Y, and Z.
I am better, and they need to know me.
Or I might just have something different. Not necessarily I'm better. I just got something different.
Yeah.
But
I'm better.
I love that. I love that. You are better.
I know
You are
you're
better.
detailing.
Definitely.
You know, if you were to say,
We just had something. And
I'm
the reason
better
I say that because we have something different.
exactly.
I agree. I had a question that was the difference between, you said you're trying to get your brokerage thing. What is the difference between a brokerage and a realtor?
So a broker,
So the
your
realtor's
broker's
that.
license on there. So you have to be a realtor for 3 years before you can get your broker's license.
Okay.
To get that license, you are now held more legally liable to a lot more things because you now know the laws behind real estate a little bit more.
Okay. Do you make more money?
You don't. Well, yes and no. So it gives you the ability to S corp yourself, so that you can pay yourself as an employee. So then you can kind of avoid some of the tax implications for self-employment tax.
Okay.
So it does help you pay.
I was about to ask, that's what my next question. What would be the reasoning of wanting your brokerage?
So that you can use a tax loophole. Really.
That makes sense.
Number one, and number two
sense.
is I'm constantly learning. So usually as a realtor, you have to have 18 hours worth of continuous education in a 3-year span, and I get that done in a year.
Yeah.
And then year over year over year, because I'm a know-it-all.
What they do,
I want to
like,
know it all.
is it tests that they do on
For
a
continuous
basis?
ed?
Yeah.
No. You get your license and you just have to make sure you maintain continuing education. The broker's license is to say, hey, I passed it. I know what I'm doing as a realtor. In the future, if I wanted to create my own brokerage, I could at that point.
That's okay.
Yep. I could have more people underneath me. You have to have a broker's license to be able to collect the commissions. Or else your broker is like, I have my license held underneath a broker right now, another broker within estate.She. And then he is able to pay me from there. But of course, the brokerage
Gets paid for
they get a commission cut.
Yeah.
So I could be able to do 100% of myself, but then the other aspect here is, do you want to? Do you want to create your own brand, put all your own documents together, have your own website, zero support, no, you get caught up on something or a lawsuit, it's all on you kind of thing. It's nice to still have an experienced broker that you're under.
I think that comes with knowledge.
Yeah.
I think that's going to change.
Everybody keeps saying that.
The way you talk is entrepreneur, and you're going to continuously move up. So you might have what you have in your head, but I'm telling you, you're going to continuously move up because just our conversation.
Appreciate that.
You're going to continuously move up.
I believe it. I think it comes with that thing where you're constantly seeking for knowledge.
Yes.
Constantly seeking to be better, not being satisfied with where you're at right now.
Yeah.
Right. And we want to switch gears a little bit right now because we want to get into some of the stuff that the people out there that may need realtors may need to know. So you was talking about something about lenders earlier.
Yeah.
You was saying something in one of the meetings last week about a situation that you had. Do you know what I'm speaking of?
I have a really hard situation at this moment. Oh, yeah. So I am currently in a hell deal, and there's no other way around it. And I said something in our networking group was mostly how to maintain while you're trying to continue to build and find new business when you're in one of the worst deals you've ever had in your life, and you're second guessing your quality because this person, was there something I could have done to make sure that this person had their house sooner? And it was a partnership with a lender where the lender himself, I've had a great experience with him in a different company, but the company he's currently in has really dragged my business down. And actually, the listing agent on this deal basically said to me, Rachel, the lender's not going to replace your clientele like your clientele is going to replace new buyers, like to triple it out. And to really, who you're giving your referrals to is a huge deal in your industry. And that's when I told you I was about to buy my first investment home because I don't want to let a girl go homeless, that's because it was my lender referral that would have made her homeless. I felt like very self-responsible to it.
That makes sense.
And yes, I might have broken even, or I might have lost $1,000, but that's to make sure that she would give me more referral and more business instead of that 1-star Google review on you, that kind of thing. And we've all had bad experiences with salespeople to know how much you want to burn that place to the ground when it happens. And so my business is my bond, my word is my bond, my referrals are my bond, and I'm going to make sure it happens and gets you to the closing table. And that's the hardest part, is she was in such a strange situation where she would have just been homeless.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But that's so tough with lenders, especially because lenders are within a company. And we had a situation where we had our first home built where our lender got fired.
Yeah.
In the mid contract.
Transaction, yeah.
And the person that we went with couldn't figure out what this person was. I don't know.
Yeah.
We ended up not going with Treads. I mean, I don't mean to put their name out there. We ended up not going with that company and going with someone else. But it was all because somebody got fired, who we liked, but she got fired.
So what then should you be looking for as a home buyer, far as a lender? Like, what are some of the things that you should
What questions should you ask?
So to make sure that they've actually run all of your credit, your assets, like making sure that to a T what you have is what you are going to be approved for, instead of them saying, yep, this is fine. You'll be fine at that. No worries. Well, making sure that you have your cash to close, or you will have your cash to close, and figure that out, instead of saying, oh yeah, it's all in stocks. Okay, great. When am I supposed to liquidate that? When am I supposed,
So top 5 questions you should ask.
Oh my goodness. Obviously.
For a lender to what?
I don't know.
I was going to ask that same question, but I was going to ask that for the realtors, because you said
I was going to ask both sides, for the lenders and for the realtors.
Yeah, if I was a buyer, it's what kind of programs do you have? What is the best program?
We're talking to lenders.
Yeah. So if I was a buyer talking to lenders, it's still what kind of programs you have. What is the best program for me? What are your closing fee and closing costs? What hidden fees should I expect to pay, like points on interest rates? I don't think interest rates are the number one thing you should be asking, because interest rates are what interest rates are. Those are fluctuating between companies. That's fluctuating between what the market is that year. But it's like, this is what my situation is. What is the best one for me? And to make sure that they really thoroughly vetted out your situation, whether you're a small business owner, to make sure you had the cash, to make sure, am I allowed to have a gift funds? Am I allowed to have someone co-sign? What am I able to do, what I'm not able to do, before you start looking at the houses? Obviously, that there are a lot of people that are in a salaried W-2 position and they just want to look at the house before they get their credit check. I totally get that. Those people that are scared about getting their credit check usually have really good credit scores, so it's not usually the hardest part to do. But on the flip side, if I was a realtor, the questions to ask lenders is going to be like, what kind of programs do you have for my clients? Why do you stand out above other lenders? Why should I be using you? What are you going to do as a partnership with me? Do you have lead sources where you'd have someone that's unrepresented that would need a realtor? How can I make sure that I'm that person that would go to? And then, just making sure that after I have the offer accepted, what does your process look like from there? Am I going to never talk to you again? Am I just now talking to your assistant? Am I actually vibe with your assistant as well? Or is it your assistant and the loan processor and the other person in the department, and you're confused on who you're talking to next? So usually I love that the lenders that I normally partner with is, I'm the one taking care of it. Yes, all these people are down the line, but if you have a problem, you're calling me and I'm figuring it out. Or you're calling me on Saturday at 9:00 and we're gonna figure this out together, kind of deal.
That's dope. That's a lot.
What if I'm a home buyer looking for a realtor? What's the top 5 questions?
How do you communicate? Are you sending me listings, or am I expected to send them to you? What kind of technology do you have to make sure that I can find the best house fast? The second that it hits the market, how am I alerted? What makes you different than the other realtors? How can I guarantee that I'm going to be picking the right one? Now that there's a new lawsuit out there from NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, that basically says that if the seller doesn't want to pay for a buyer's agent, you might have to pay for a buyer's agent. So what's your strategy around that to make sure that I'm not coming to the table with closing costs and paying for you? Because, my job is to be a negotiator. I have ways around it. Let's get it done. That kind of thing. So, so those are going to be quite a few more factors. Like, what does it actually cost to have you as a realtor? What are the additional fees that come along with it? Yeah. That's
tough. That's a lot. I hope you're writing down.
Yeah. That last one was
That's a lot.
I liked that piece of information.
Because there's a misconception that realtors get paid by the buyer or this or that.
So the misconception. So right now, it's sellers pay for buyers' agents, and they split the commission 50-50. But Michigan has it where we've always had it in our contracts to say sellers pay X amount of money for commission and they split it equally with a buyer's agent or however they want to do it. And because of this lawsuit, people are starting to think, no, I don't want to pay for it anymore.
Realtor, yeah.
And I don't want to pay for the buyer's agent. I don't want to pay to have someone help like work against me. However, it's not exactly helpful to the sellers right now because a buyer's agent already has to come to the table with their own closing costs in this market. Maybe cash towards the seller's closing costs, paying for all of their own closing fees. But what they're not understanding is when buyer representation is not covered there, well, now they have to pay for that too. That gets ridiculous. So that house just isn't viewed because they can't afford it. A buyer can't afford it. So then it's okay asking for seller concessions to pay for either the closing costs or whatever. I mean, it's all lumped into a big ball of fees in the long run. But there's a lot of people that lack the confidence to ask for seller concessions in this market. Because I have 12 other offers.
Yep.
You know, that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
If you don't know,
that's a lot
of that terminology, you will be jumbled up. I'm a little jumbled up right now.
It's not so bad, though. But, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. And you said something earlier that I want people to realize that for the homeowner or someone buying a home, like, just because you have the money don't mean you can just go buy the home.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because you have the money don't mean you can go buy the home. There's questions you need to ask.
Right.
Say I got $100,000 at home. I can't just go buy a home because it's a red flag. I didn't know that until I know that. Like, hey, you can't just go put $20,000 in the bank.
Right. Where did the cash come from?
Exactly. So there's you can't. There's ways around it, and there's questions to be asked. So I hope everyone paid attention to those questions because just because you got the money don't mean you can do it.
Yeah. And before we get ready to wrap up, I want to go into because there is this conception. You said something about the rates, right? And it's the thing amongst people who probably would like to buy a house or who doesn't know a lot, where it's like, okay, the rates is crazy, inflation is crazy, everything is going up, but your pay. And I'm just gonna wait till these rates go down. Right. And you said that one of the things that people shouldn't look at is the rates. So what should we be looking at as far as the rates? What does that look like? Yep. Why or why not should we be looking at those rates? How should we be looking at the situation of the market right now and where it's at? So, and kind of describe that a little bit, where the market is at right now.
You might have other lenders out there that are saying, I have the best interest rate, but what you don't understand is you're paying percentage points off of that interest rate. So you're bringing $5,000 more to the table just to get this interest rate. And everybody has the ability to do it. So show me what brass tacks, where I'm originally at, and if I have the extra cash and I choose to put it down on the rate to save myself some extra money, then choose it for yourself at that point. Don't choose it for me. That kind of thing. So to have more empowerment with how you're spending your money than just saying, this is how, like, oh, this person has the best interest rate. Well, it's the best interest rate because they're tacking it on the end and you're actually coming to the table with more. They don't just have the best interest rate, period. They have the best interest rate because you're paying for it. And that's why I don't really say that. That's why I want to talk about lender fees over the interest rates. So interest rates, they are average, like they're 0.25% off of each other between lenders. So I wouldn't make that as the defining factor because you can pay a little extra to have the quality and service and everything done correctly. So that's kind of like where interest rates aren't all the biggest thing. But I'd also say that's another reason why people are staying with their houses longer because there's everybody that bought, getting into real estate in 2020 when COVID shut everything down.
That's when I bought my house.
Exactly. Interest rates are what?
I thought I got it at 3.2.
Exactly. And my house that I'm going to be getting ready to sell in Jenison just in the next month or two, I'm at a 2.75% interest rate. It almost is stupid for me to sell my house right now, but the equity that I'm going to get out of this house, because I bought it in 2016, the equity I'm going to get on this house pays off all my student loans, pays off my husband's student loans, frees up that income towards a house that I have now purchased at, now it was 7.25, but I chose to pay down my interest rate down to a 6.35. So there is a potential that you still have some wiggle room on how you want to use your cash and then refinance later when you have the ability to, once the interest rates go down in enough rate that it would make more sense. But I'm able to afford the new house that works better for our family, that all my babies can be on the same floor as I am, that is a better flow, that I have my own at-home office that has potential, that I'm in a neighborhood. Being a realtor, that's pretty a big thing too, is to get in your own neighborhood, be the master of your neighborhood. But paying off my husband's credit cards that are at 24%, paying off his car that's at 6.99%, not to throw his business out there, and I hope he doesn't watch this, but compared to the 2.75% interest rate, this makes more sense for my life.
It makes more sense. Yeah.
So then I'd be able to save up faster to be able to buy the investment home.
Yeah.
That makes
perfect sense.
You're looking at the bigger picture.
That makes perfect sense.
They want you to look at the small picture.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Basically,
that's how you fit it out for your situation. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So it's almost like the media is focusing on the interest rates because that's the small picture.
And let's be clear. And I want to say something because I don't know too much. I mean, I know a little bit. I've been dibbling, but I've learned by looking at graphs, because I know graphs, that our interest rate has always been this. That 3.5 wasn't normal.
Yes.
That people got used to. When it dropped down to 3.5, 2.7, that wasn't normal. It's always been at 7 plus. Most of the times 11%. So what people don't understand is that interest rate, I mean, the difficult
part I have to say, well, back in my day, mine was at 11%. It's like back in your day, $75,000.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's not exactly fair to say all at the same time. So where rates do statistically go down during election years, just to show, we're doing great. That's the time to refinance. That's the time to refinance. Right now, Michigan is just catching up to the national average, where houses are in the 400s to 500,000. It's going to continue to grow at a fast rate right now. It is more beneficial for you to buy at this moment at a 7% interest rate and refinance a little bit later, as long as you can afford it. And that's my biggest key there, is there's a lot of people out there that are saying, well, I rent and I can't do this. Then that's not your time. You need to do what's smart for you at this moment and continue to save.
Yeah.
And I don't think everybody is ready for home ownership. I don't think you understand that when your HVAC system goes out, you need to be able to call somebody and you take care of it, and it's on you. Yeah, so I would say another, I try to leave my homeowners with tips, like you buy your first house and the value of that house is $200,000, you should be saving $2,000 a year as general maintenance for the next thing that's going to go wrong, for you to continue to improve and keep it maintained. So that would be my goal, is setting up savings goals still for my buyers.
And you're teaching them that, or not teaching them that, but helping them
set up along the way, so that
we need all your information put out on Facebook or whatever we're on, we're on a lot of every
Facebook, Instagram, everything. TikTok.
Yep. So I am Rachel Assiala, realtor on Instagram. My phone number is 269-217-8303. I am realtor Rachel Assiala with City to Shore on Facebook. That's my professional page.
How do we spell Asiala?
Asiala, Asiala. It looks like Asiala.
Oh. That was simple. My brain went somewhere.
I know, it's crazy. Maiden name was Makaitis. It wasn't any better. I had decisions to make.
Yeah.
I love everything about that.
That was
because that's the realtor you need, the one that's gonna help and teach you things along with getting you where you need to be.
Yeah. So I would say, where we were kind of talking about interest rates, and how hard it is as starting as a realtor in the height of COVID, when interest rates were that low, all of a sudden it jumps up. Almost everybody that I sold houses to in the first 2 to 3 years are going to be sitting happy in their house,
just chilling
for a little bit longer, which normally in 3 to 5 years you would have had a turnover where they're ready for their next house, because the interest rates would have been lower, right? But now you're like, for this payment, I'm willing to grind it out just a little bit longer.
I thought about that until you just explained your situation. Now I'm thinking it makes sense to
how much could I
might have to just we got to run the numbers. You got to run the numbers.
Set zero and start all over again. Try this again.
Exactly.
You just got to run the numbers.
I mean, my brand new house, I bought it in December, and the house across the street from me sold for $20,000 more, and it's the same it's not the same configuration, but square footage, finished, bedrooms, bathrooms, everything. That means my new house that I just bought is now worth $20,000 more in less than a few months.
Just because
already,
of that.
just for holding on to it. So I could, if I had to turn around and sell it, I'd make more money already.
We're thinking about it. Not gonna lie. But to go to a trailer or a fifth wheel.
Do the
Come live in your
numbers.
backyard.
What makes it? I don't come to y'all backyard. Everybody just buy trailers and live in a trailer for 3 to 5 years.
Save
That's not my official advice. Everybody.
tiny home communities for life.
Yeah, my wife on a tiny home. We thinking about. She thinking about that.
Yeah, I know a guy who does it.
We got a big family, man.
That's a lot of people.
I know a guy who does it.
We need about 3 of them.
But no, I love that. Asiala.
I used to have to say Asiago cheese before.
That's my brain went. Asiago.
There's also a football player that's Asiala.
Asiala.
Asiala, yeah.
Okay. I will reach out to Miss Asiala.
Y'all got the info.
You got the info, and seems dope to me. I'm a user for my next house.
This podcast will be internationally, globally known. So you probably give us about 2 years, you're gonna have so many people. If you got the same phone number, people just gonna start calling your phone like the episode's good.
She needs some. Yeah, I love it.
And then at that point,
in this city,
we'll provide the telephone number at the link below. If anyone calls, make sure that we get 10% of that.
And you are working with city to city, city to shore, city to shore, city to shore.
All right, is there anything that you want to say to the people before we close out?
Actually, can you give the people or realtors one thing you would give yourself 8 years ago?
Oh my gosh. 8 years ago?
If you would, 8 years ago today,
8 years ago, I would have been, in my mind, 8 years ago, I would have been a dentist.
Wow.
Right? So I always just say, as long as you're still learning, still doing something better than you were beforehand. So one of my favorite quotes is, always go the extra mile. It's never crowded there. And so always do something a little bit more that makes you stand out. Take care of the person just a little more, love a little harder, do something just a little bit more than everybody else. And that's what's going to keep you successful. So 8 years ago, I was still learning, still growing, still thriving. The path just changed. And so you just have to keep on grinding, because if you let that just all of it weigh down on you and make you go, you know what, I'm just going to go get a 9 to 5. It's so easy. It's so easy to do that. And especially when the interest rates went up higher, I can't even begin to tell you how many people got out of the industry. But if you continue to give the good service and you continue to do you, it's going to pop. It's going to continue on. You are going to be successful. It's just going that little bit extra.
Go the extra mile. It's not that crowded there.
I was about to reiterate that too.
I love that, because
it
that's
was just
almost like
popping
climbing
right
to the
there,
top, and it ain't that crowded at the top. I love that.
Well, it's the think and grow rich mentality also, where you're like that Napoleon Hill, right? That was the guy was 2 seconds away from the silver mine or whatever, and it was just continuing to go, and they just stopped. They just gave up, because it gets hard, and it does get hard. But the other part is, you are surrounded by so many other people that are here to make it easy. And I feel like that's another thing, is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are so many other people that are out there doing it already.
So don't reinvent the wheel.
Ours.
And start today.
Not tomorrow.
Before we close out, that's our closeout. But if you got any value from this episode, because that was in my head to do that before. If you got any value from this episode, please like it. Please share it. If you know a realtor, share this episode.